Learning how to learn summary will teach you how to learn and master any subject or skill quickly using the practical knowledge of neuroscience. Ever thought about how our brains are capable of thinking so much? How does memory work? Where are all the memories stored in the brain? Why do we remember some ideas and forget the others? Is there any way to tap into our brains and enhance our learning and recalling ability? What if you could remember everything you read? What's the best way to learn and master any concept? In this book summary, you will find answers to such questions. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Lesson number 1: when you find yourself struggling to solve a problem or learn anything new, try to relax for a few minutes. And then try again later. Although we have got a complex brain capable of solving lots of problems, it still has its limit. Our minds work like machines. Just as machines need to cool down after working for hours after taking a huge amount of load, we also need to take breaks after doing any tedious work. The author talks about why do we often get stuck while solving problems. Problems can be of any type. From our life to relationships, from health to money, there are all sorts of problems. We all have got lots of problems in our lives, haven't we? The question is, why do we often get stuck while solving problems? The thing is, our brain has two types of modes, diffused mode and focused mode. When you are not using your brain too much, then it's in diffused mode. This includes fun activities like watching a thrilling movie, staring at the ceiling, listening to music, chatting with your friends, etc. It's usually a chilling time for your brain or mind. And when you put stress on your brain, it goes into focused mode. This includes activities like playing chess, solving mathematical problems, preparing for competitive exams, thinking about complex questions like does God exist or not, etc. In short, all those activities that force you to pay attention and use your willpower are performed under focused mode. According to the author, the best way to learn anything and not get stuck is to practice both the diffused mode as well as focused mode. Often people make this mistake. They either keep themselves in focused mode and not allow themselves to relax, which is diffused mode. Or they hardly pay attention to the problem, so naturally, they fail to solve the problem. The best strategy is to switch back and forth between both modes multiple times. So when you get stuck, take a break. Or listen to your favorite song. Give your mind some time to relax. And then come back later and attempt to solve the problem once again. Lesson number 2: procrastination gives you instant pleasure, but it hurts you in the long term by making you highly unproductive. Let's admit it. We all procrastinate when it comes to doing boring tasks like studying or preparing for an exam. The question is, why do we procrastinate so much? Wouldn't life be simple if we could do anything we set our mind to? The author's research says that the same area of the brain is affected when we think about doing something we don't like, and when we actually get hurt. Procrastination is one of the biggest time killers, isn't it? We procrastinate because we don't want to feel pain of doing something we don't like. But if you observe your mind, you will find that often we exaggerate the pain. Once we start doing that boring thing, that uncomfortable feeling goes away. But why are we putting so much energy to deal with procrastination? That's because when you procrastinate, you lose your precious time. Once it's gone, it's gone. And if you keep procrastinating for a long period of time, your productivity is ruined. Lesson number 3: think in metaphors to learn faster. The author says that metaphors help us learn faster. What are metaphors? According to Wikipedia, a metaphor is a figure of speech that, for rhetorical effect, directly refers to one thing by mentioning another. Put simply, when you try to relate an unfamiliar thing with something that is familiar, you use a metaphor. But how do metaphors help you learn faster? Let me explain with an example. Let's say you are learning about photosynthesis. It's a process by which plants make their food using sunlight. Now some people might find it difficult to remember the word photosynthesis. To remember this, you can imagine a person with a camera taking a photo of a chef preparing food. Got it? Photosynthesis equals photo plus synthesis. Photo is represented by the camera, and the chef represents the entire process of synthesis. The more vivid you are in your imagination and the better relationships you form between the ideas, the better will the metaphor help you remember concepts. But do you know why metaphors help us remember and understand concepts better? It's because, with every metaphor, you are creating a link in your brain, says the author. Think of your brain as stars in the sky. Now imagine all the stars connected to each other. You will now see a spider-like web. Our brains are similar to the webs of spiders. There are lots of neurons connected to each other. The more the connections, the smoother the processing in your brain. Lesson number 4, learning has no age. Even adults in their 40s or 50s can learn new stuff. A person's age shouldn't be a barrier when it comes to learning new subjects. The author learned chemistry as an adult when he had no clue about chemistry at all. Sadly, most people stop learning after they graduate and get a decent job. They think that they know everything and now there is no obligation to learn. But that's not true. There is always something to learn. This reminds me of the quote by Henry Ford. Anyone who stops learning is old, whether at 20 or 80. Lesson number 5, sleeping is important to allow your brain connections to become stronger and sturdier. The author talks about the importance of sleep. According to the author and researches based on neuroscience, your brain changes while you sleep. This means new connections are formed in your brain. Also, some of them are destroyed too. The more you think about something, the stronger the connections become in your brain. And after you sleep at night, the links in your brain transform. This helps you learn faster. It's highly recommended that you take a good sleep. Otherwise, you might face problems while remembering ideas. So after you study something, sleep on it. Your brain will thank you for that. It's important for students to sleep at least 7 hours before their exams. The author doesn't support the idea of cramming. She says that if you cram, your brain won't get enough time to form and strengthen new connections. So you'll find it hard to recall ideas while taking your exams. The author also recommends that you teach your ideas to others as well. This will help you recall your ideas even better. Lesson number 6, use memory palaces to remember cold hard facts. To understand how memory palaces work, you first need to understand a bit about memory. According to this book, we have 2 types of memories: working memory and long-term memory. Right now, when you are watching this video book summary, you are using your working memory. The problem with working memory is that it's very limited. You can only keep 4 to 5 things in this memory at a given time. Especially, if what you are trying to remember consists of boring facts like history dates, you will find it even harder. You know, this is the reason why not everybody can be a good juggler. When it comes to long-term memory, it has no limit. It's like a vast ocean. But the problem with long-term memory is things are out of order. Try remembering something that happened with you in the past. Can you recall everything in detail? Maybe you can if you have a powerful recall ability. But normally, you won't be able to remember every single detail. Long-term memory is always in fragments. While using it, you have to connect the fragments and form a picture. The best part is, you can store an almost unlimited amount of information. Just think about the devices today. Even today, we struggle to keep the information. There is no storage device right now that can store an infinite amount of data. But your memory can. Sure, it will be in fragments, but if you learn how to do it right, you can make good use of it. The author relates working memory with a school bag and long-term memory with a locker. You can only put so much in your school bag, but you can put a lot more in your locker. The author talks about using memory palaces to retain the information in your brain. You can imagine putting facts with weird character names in a room. And imagine them as if they are real-world objects or people interacting with each other, each having a unique quality. There is no hard and fast rule. It's about how creative you can be. You can literally create anything in your imagination. But how does it work? And why do we retain more information when we imagine a memory palace? It's because we naturally remember images better than we do text. Think about all the movies you watch. They remain in our memory for many days after we watch them. Don't they? Somehow, our memory is better suited to remember visuals. If you are struggling to remember a complex concept, try to create a story out of it. Imagine all the details in your head. And try to make some sense of that story no matter how funny or weird it is. It helps a lot while studying. Lesson number 7. Exercise is good not only for your body, but also for your brain. In the 11th chapter, the author talks about why exercise is crucial for the development of the brain. We know that there are neurons in our brain that are connected to each other. And the stronger the connections are, the better it is. But do you know where these neurons take birth? There is a region inside the brain called the hippocampus. That's where all the neurons take birth. The more you exercise, the better it is for that part. Also, when you exercise, the brain produces a chemical called BDNF. Now, you don't need to learn chemistry here. The main idea is, BDNF helps in the growth of neurons and synapses. It's like a catalyst. It speeds up the growth of your neurons. That means, you must never skip your daily exercise. We all know that exercise is good for our health overall. Lesson number 8. Focus on different aspects while studying a new subject. Most people, when they study any subject, they find one of their favorite areas. And then they tend to avoid uninteresting areas that are hard to master. You might have seen many students who don't actually solve the problems on their own, but they directly look at the solutions. It's okay to refer to the solutions if the questions are difficult. But in the beginning, one should focus on solving the various fundamental problems. This allows the brain to form relationships between various aspects. We tend to like and do what is easy. But not approaching and trying to solve difficult problems limits our growth. Imagine if you only read books on topics that you already know. In that case, you might end up with limited knowledge. So next time you read anything, don't ignore the boring details. You never know how a single idea can change your life. I'd recommend you read books from diverse fields. It will improve your understanding of this entire universe. There you have it. I hope you learned a lot of valuable lessons from this video book summary. Now you tell me, what are your 2 biggest takeaways from this video? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. By the way, the author also has a nice course based on this book. But I suggest that you read the book instead of the course. Links are in the description below.